And we are on, it looks like, Arielle. So this is Dr. Vivian Asamoah. You guys all know me. Yes, I am doing this recording from my car because it was way too noisy at the Starbucks. And so, and I really wanted to get Dr. Arielle Caruso on live with us tonight. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. We've never had a guest like Arielle on our show before, and she is going to have a ton of information to share. But before we do that, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Vivian Asamoah. I'm board certified in gastroenterology and in integrative functional medicine. I blend the best of both worlds to really help my patient achieve optimal gut health. And if you're watching this, it's probably because you're a member of our private Facebook group, The Natural Gut Relief, where we talk about everything related to how to relieve your gut naturally using holistic medicine, so herbs, natural supplements, lifestyle, and acupuncture. So we are bringing that. I'm so glad to introduce you guys to Dr. Arielle Caruso, and I'll just let her tell us a little bit about her journey, a very interesting journey, where she's based, and just a little bit about your practice. And let's just start off with where people can find you if they want to connect with you or potentially send people your way if they know people where you are, which is East Coast, right? West Coast.
West Coast.
San Diego?
San Diego.
Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's an honor. So, as you said, my name's Dr. Arielle Caruso, and my clinic name is Arise Acupuncture. We're located in Southern California, San Diego, to be specific. And we have a team of doctors, all who practice internal medicine. So we see a range of clients with all types of health concerns. You mentioned gastroenterology. That is definitely an area that we see a lot of, and my own personal journey is linked with that. I think a lot of doctors feel passionate about treating what's close to home, and for me, I've had a personal struggle with digestive issues and bacterial infections and things that have really fueled my passion for learning all there is to know about treating the gut and how to lead a healthy, happy life and be symptom free or managing the symptoms if that's where it's at. Um, but yeah, I'm super passionate about treating this really.
This is great, but Ariel, you don't only treat the gut, you also focus on everything that's kind of internal medicine using a more holistic focus because
hmm
your background, you are a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine. So you bring in acupuncture into your practice to traditional Chinese medicinal herbs to really help prevent and manage disease. Let's start with you actually. How did you figure out that this more holistic approach was the way to go for you?
Yeah, so I got bounced around between a lot of doctors, and I had a really stressful job at the time, and I didn't know how to eat for chronic illness. Like, I was extremely sick with a digestive issue, with mold exposure, like multiple things, and I was ping-ponging between doctors, and one doctor said, "Why don't you try acupuncture?" And it was the thing that made the most impact. I noticed that I just felt so at peace, and being at peace really helped my digestive symptoms. And that always like stuck with me over the years. I was in another career before this, and when I started thinking about, okay, I want to be of service, I want to study medicine, I want to transition my career, what do I want to do? And acupuncture just kept coming back up as this beautiful medicine that I would never get tired of learning because there's so many levels to it. Um there's like the basics, like do these points and it does this. There's the esoteric spiritual nature. There's relating to actual nature and the changing of seasons. There's the way that food interacts with our bodies. I fell in love with the medicine and the elegance of it and the richness of it. And because I am a lifelong learner, I knew that this was something that I wouldn't get tired of learning.
That, I mean, I'm falling in love right now just hearing you talk about it. So let's go in a little bit more. I mean, you have to talk to us like first graders, really like we know nothing, right? So tell us about the basics of someone looking for a good acupuncturist. We're talking about somebody who has maybe vagal nerve issues, right? Has a lot of motility issues. Maybe our classic patient with what we would call irritable bowel syndrome, which
Mm-hmm.
could be many things. What would you recommend if someone with irritable bowel syndrome is looking into acupuncture? Because we know the data is clearly out there. It really does help. It's probably one of the only modalities that gives sustained relief. How should someone go about looking for the right acupuncturist and make sure that they're doing the type of acupuncture that would work for them?
Yeah, so the beautiful part about acupuncture is it's really hard to find a bad acupuncturist. Like the
Okay.
medicine is so magical that you could really see anyone and get relief. But I do feel like there's something really special about connecting with your provider. The healing relationship that is formed between a practitioner and a patient, like as you're coming in weekly or twice a week, over months and months time, it's really nice to find someone that you resonate with. So I would encourage people to read the bio of the acupuncturist, and where they went to school is not as important as like who are they as a person and can you relate to them? Do you feel safe with them? The other thing that, with digestive issues specifically, there's so much of it is related to what we eat and
Mhm.
like lifestyle and how we manage stress. And so finding one who maybe also practices functional medicine or is aware of that, they can interweave some of the functional nutrition with Chinese nutrition.
Mhm.
And I find that to be a really beautiful sweet spot to help people with symptoms.
Excellent. So you can't mess up the acupuncture, but that connection between you and your healer, let's say, is really, really important, right? It's really
I
important.
believe so. I
Yeah.
really believe so, and I've witnessed it in my patients, like the safer they feel, the deeper they allow themselves to go,
Mhm.
and the more receptive they become to the medicine. Even if you're not sure if it works, you're still going to benefit. Like those people who are like, I don't know if I believe in this, and then they walk out and they're like, wow, it works.
Right.
Like surprised.
Awesome.
So
So
yeah, the medicine is yeah. Go
is
ahead.
part of it. It's part of it. Yeah. So for someone who's just starting, right, with gut issues, say I refer a patient to an acupuncturist like yourself, a doctor of acupuncture. I think the expectation has to be set because a lot of people feel like, oh, just one session and it didn't do anything for me. How often should they be going? How many sessions should they expect? Now, I do understand that everyone is different and everyone's underlying root cause issue is also different. But generally, how do you counsel your patients when they start working with you? Like, what are the expectations?
Yeah, so I start almost everyone out at 2 times a week. It depends on the severity of the situation. I have started people at even more frequently than that. But the average person comes twice a week, and they do that for 6 weeks at a minimum. And the reason for that is because acupuncture is cumulative. You can
Mhm.
never come too close together, but you can come too far apart. And when we're trying to regulate the nervous system and send different signals down the
Mhm.
pathway, we really want to make sure that we're getting ahead of the biological process that your body is used to doing in repeat.
Mhm.
So if a person, say somebody has like 4 days of relief from a treatment, we want to see them on the third day so that symptom doesn't come back,
Okay.
and then we're always ahead of the symptoms essentially. And what we do is we then space them out. So in the beginning you come twice a week, and then we'll have you come once a week, every other week, every 3 weeks, once a month. And the goal would be to have someone come once a season. So every time the seasons change, the internal landscape of the body changes, and a seasonal tune-up would be appropriate at that time. But I do find that people who have chronic digestive issues,
Mhm.
also, there's some kind of psychological stress component, whether it's stress or PTSD, or there's just so much connected in how we process our emotions. And a lot
Mhm.
of people who struggle with digestive issues um, are very impacted like day to day. And so those people usually don't come once a season. Those people are usually at the most spaced out would be once a month.
Got it. Okay. And this is when they are sort of in more of maintenance, right, regimen. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
maintenance would be once a month.
once a month. So in San Diego, and in Texas, what's once a season? What we don't have any seasons here. It's triple digits hot or it's freezing.
Yeah,
So,
the seasons are subtle, but they do still exist. Yeah,
really?
they're still
Okay, so what are they?
Yeah. Like January, February usually are pretty cold in San Diego. Like we say cold, it's like 60s, 70s,
Yeah,
probably 60s. That is our winter. Summer is like blazing hot, and that's the, you know,
yeah.
with
That's the
June,
summer.
July,
Yeah, yeah,
August,
June,
right?
July. Yeah.
Yeah,
So is it
it's hard to
also related
pinpoint like
to the sun and how early it rises and
yeah, yeah, you definitely could gauge it by the sun. But temperature, I mean, so a place that only has one season, then maybe they don't need to come, you know, for the seasonal change. It's more like when the weather changes, if it's more wet or it's hotter or drier or colder, that's what we would consider a seasonal change.
Mhm,
And anytime there's a change in the external landscape, then we
mhm,
also see that in the inside. So if it's more dry outside, then people will present with more dry symptoms inside. And the same with
mhm,
the wet climate. We'll see more dampness internally when they're in either a wet environment or it's raining a lot. People will complain of these same type of issues each
mhm.
season.
So I can see that. I think I fully agree with what you said about our patients with gut issues, right? They're often external triggers. Like I just started a new job, or I'm going through a divorce, or I'm having issues with my teenager. There's always something. There's anxiety or there's stress related to some external factor. And so in that situation, when our patients will sometimes say, I'm flaring, I'm having a flare, would they actually come back for sessions that are a little bit more intense, more regular, every twice a week, and then sort of taper down depending on how active their symptoms are?
Absolutely. Yeah. I really like to empower my patients and educate them about how acupuncture works and how to manage their own symptoms. So, if someone is in remission and they're in the maintenance phase of acupuncture and they're coming once a month and they know that they have like a huge exam coming up, I will say, come right before the exam and come right after, right? Because you're going to
Okay.
have a lot of stress leading up to it. And then after, you're going to have that dip of cortisol, and everybody, like, that's when everything goes haywire,
Yeah.
when the stressor is complete. So, yeah, we plan for those types of things. And if somebody doesn't plan for it or it's unexpected, then I'll have them come back for, say, twice a week or once a week until the symptom is under control. And usually, it's really easy to get back to that maintenance phase once you've already achieved it.
Hmm. It
The
doesn't
body
take quite as
remembers.
long. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
doesn't take as long.
It doesn't take as long. Okay, awesome. So, what are some of the gut conditions, since I'm a GI doc? That's all I want to know. What are some of the digestive issues that you see, Arielle, that really helps your patients? Like that where acupuncture really provides a lot of benefit
Yeah.
or, or is healing in situations where, they've tried everything conventional, they've done a lot of stuff, and wow, you just, huge difference.
It's so hard to pinpoint because it's like it's a full spectrum. I
Mhm.
have had a ton of motility issues, so people who either too fast or too slow, acupuncture really shines at regulating that. And we find that when you regulate that, a lot of other things resolve. So like anxiety will resolve when you resolve constipation because there's not this
Mhm.
backup of toxins in the system.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, constipation is a big one. Loose bowel movements, chronic bloating is a big one. Acid reflux,
Mhm.
pain,
Anything that
abdominal pain,
Yeah,
acupuncture
anything
down.
that helps motility, right?
Yeah,
And that vagus nerve and everything moving through the GI tract, right?
yeah, absolutely. That's a big thing. Yeah, for sure.
Delayed stomach
And
emptying.
yep, and also like another thing is anything that's coming up. So like belching, acid reflux, change the direction of energy moving through the body. So if someone is like either blocked or reversing, like the stuff that's like up stuck up here and there's nothing really
Mhm.
to take other than
Mhm.
Tums, we can usually resolve that and redirect everything to go down.
That
And
is
then yeah, I would say regulating the bowels is a big thing, and
Mhm.
then acupuncture also down regulates pain signals
Mhm.
in the brain. So people who just have that like abdominal pain, and if you're a person who's like chronically bloated, all those nerves become way more sensitive in the gut, and so those people like the smallest amount of bloating or flatulence like can really hurt, and
Mhm.
so acupuncture will down regulate all those pain signals and just make it a little bit um, less painful.
Yeah, that's
It
what
can
we call
also sorry, go ahead.
that visceral hypersensitivity. So then the
Mhm.
acupuncture really helps downregulate. That's much better than taking prescription medications like what we normally give in gastroenterology. It's like tricyclic antidepressants and SSRIs that have their own side effects.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and you can't underestimate the importance of managing stress because one of the things that acupuncture best above all else is managing stress and taking people out of sympathetic and putting them into the parasympathetic state so they can actually heal and reminds their body like this is a safe place to be. Your body is a safe place to be, and when we start feeling safer in our bodies, everything starts to just settle, and then the
mhm,
digestive system can actually start to repair. And if you're under, and you know this, like under chronic stress, the microbiome shifts
mhm,
negatively,
mhm,
and more inflammation again shifts negatively. So if we can downregulate inflammation and downregulate stress, we can really create a more favorable environment for the whole microbiome
mhm.
to heal.
To heal and to thrive.
And what I find is that the protocols that people are given from, say, like a naturopath or an MD, it's like all of those things will work better if you tend to the soil. I like to think of it as like a garden.
Absolutely.
And if you plant something in soil that hasn't been tended to, it's not going to grow. So you have to really create the environment
Mhm,
where all the medicine and the herbs and things will actually work. And if the body is dysregulated, then and you give it more things, it's just going to be further dysregulated. So this is like a real way to just get the body back to a place of harmony where it can support the treatments and really thrive.
I think everybody. I feel like all my patients need some acupuncture. But truly, though, Arielle, when you look at all the data on all, we talk a lot about the gut brain axis connection and this and that. In conventional medicine, honestly, we don't have really any definitive therapies that work. I think what really works is really, as you said, that balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, really regulating that vagus nerve, and at least start that rebalancing process for the patient. But you don't get that through a prescription medication. You
Mhm.
don't get that through an SSRI. Tell me about, why do you think some people, why do you think conventional docs don't recommend acupuncture to their patients, although the evidence is there? Why do you think that's the case? Is it an insurance issue? Is it a belief process?
I think it's belief. I think it's belief and education. I think that if I know from my personal experience, I like to experience something before I prescribe it, or I want to learn all there is to know
Mm.
about it before I tell someone to try it. And I think that um, it's acupuncture, it's still woo woo for people. They don't understand how it works. They don't understand that it's been, thousands and thousands of years in China. It's a primary form of healthcare in China. It's integrated in the hospitals. There's the
Yeah.
department of acupuncture and Chinese herbs and in the hospitals. And we
Yeah.
just don't have that education in the West where um we just don't know. And I've had MD say, "Oh, don't do that. It's risky." And it's like, says who? Like
What are the risks?
it's
What are the risks?
you can bruise.
Yeah.
I mean, bruising, there is risk of elevating blood pressure if somebody's really, really, really nervous about acupuncture. So for people who have extremely high blood pressure, we will take their blood pressure ahead of time, or we'll ask that they are medicated so that it's stable. But that said, acupuncture also treats high blood pressure. So
Mhm.
it's really a matter of like, is the patient getting extremely stressed out when they come
Right.
in which case it might elevate it. But there's really not too many other contraindications. It's really if someone has a bleeding and clotting disorder, then that could potentially be an issue. But the needles are so small that most people don't bleed when a needle is removed.
Mm.
Um, but that is always a risk, I guess.
Is it potentially a cost issue? And let's talk about value a little bit, right? Are some patients may be concerned because, oh, I can't afford it. It may not be covered by my insurance. Is this a
Mhm.
potential?
Yeah, it absolutely is a potential. In California, every health care plan has acupuncture coverage because we're primary care physicians in this state. So everyone has some type of benefit. Now, not all clinics accept insurance. My clinic is one of them. We don't accept insurance, but we are considered out of network providers. So if you have out of network benefits, you can submit to an insurance bill, to an insurance claim, and potentially get reimbursement. All of that said, there are community clinics that are very affordable that make acupuncture more accessible to the masses.
Mhm.
Um, it is unfortunate that it is a more expensive medicine, not being covered by insurance, and does require multiple treatments to get
Mhm.
better. Um, it's just the nature of the system at this point.
But it's also important for, as you say, and we're having these conversations about patients to understand the value of it as well, because you could go see your GI doctor, and GI doctors, we definitely have our place, right? We know what we do when it comes to acute care. But when it comes to chronic gut issues where, you've had 3 colonoscopies and this, and you're still having the same issues, and the focus really hasn't been on lifestyle, nutrition, managing stress, this is when you actually have to seek those alternatives, those holistic approaches to really heal, rather than spending another $3,000, $4,000 getting another colonoscopy that's not going to show anything. So the benefit is there because the value is clearly there and the science backs it up.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like if you think about, okay, you're going to spend some money in the short term, but then the result is that you feel better and you have more energy and you can do the things that you love
Mhm.
and get your life back, then
Mhm.
it's like, can you put a value on that? I mean, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like I spend a lot of my money on healthcare, but all these natural things, acupuncture, chiropractic, massage, you know.
Well, because you see the benefit, right? You see the
Yeah.
benefit. You have to absolutely start. Oh, this is
Yeah.
a great conversation. I still have more questions. Uh, tell me a
I
little bit.
will say there's just one other thing I'll say is
Yes.
that one of the things, because I did consider going to school to be a naturopathic doctor, and
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I chose acupuncture over naturopathic medicine is because you get the medicine, but you also get the healing benefits in your body in the moment. So people leave my office
Mm.
feeling better than when they came in, and I can still use the therapeutic diets, I can still run labs, I can
You
still
can still
prescribe
prescribe the
supplements. supplements.
supplements. Yes,
Uh-huh,
yes, you get all of it.
and then when they come in the following week and they're like, "I don't know where to start," or "I have questions," or "This came up," or "I got acid reflux from this and it wasn't supposed to do that," then I can work with them along the way
Yeah,
and tweak the plan and figure out what foods are triggers without doing expensive food sensitivity panels. I'll have people do a
yes,
journal that we go over
yes.
each week, and it's like there's more connection points to make progress when you're in someone's office regularly.
Absolutely. I think that's true. So at the same time, so how long does a visit take with a patient?
Anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, and different acupuncturists will do it differently, but most people are resting from 25 to 35 minutes with the acupuncture needles in them.
Okay, okay. And then after that, do you usually have the discussion about lifestyle and nutrition, or whatever you want to discuss with a patient before or after you put the needles in?
I always do it before because
Okay.
afterwards people are relaxed. I want them to
Relax.
just go
Okay.
off and be
Yes.
blissed in their
Yes.
merry way.
Perfect, perfect. So 45 minutes, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, that's amazing. I love that you brought that up, right? You have that sort of like immediate relief, that immediate healing, not just a prescription with supplements, because we know that some of these supplements have their side effects. They cause issues. Patients may not tolerate them right away, or the dose has to be, it has to be increased, kind of titrated up slowly. And by the time you get to that optimal, it takes time. It basically
Mhm.
takes a lot more time. So I definitely see the benefit. That's really awesome. Do you use cupping with your, yes, so what other techniques do you use when you're helping your patients?
Yeah, so we use cupping when it's medically necessary. So we don't
Okay.
do it like people sometimes will get cupping as if it's a massage, but we'll use
Right.
it for people who have like neck and back issues and things like that. But in terms of digestive, I will cup the abdomen
Hmm.
um, in the direction of the descending colon to just help
Hmm.
move things if people are really backed up. We'll do some
Okay.
manual work like massage on that. We also use moxibustion, which is an
Hmm.
herb that we burn at the surface of the skin, which transmits heat deep into the body and it
Hmm.
increases circulation.
Hmm.
It helps drain lymphatic fluid. It's really magical stuff.
Yeah, I've actually referred a couple patients to an acupuncturist who uses the same moxibustion technique, and we've gotten great results with our patients too. So that
Hmm.
is awesome. What about electro acupuncture? Is there something like,
Yeah.
yes, because I've read about that for our patients with gastroparesis and other sort of nerve related issues.
Yeah, I don't use it very much in my clinic.
Mhm.
It's something that I have a machine and I will use it on occasion, but not
Okay.
typically with the gastro patients because I find most of those people are already in sympathetic, and I'm not trying to do anything that's going to further stimulate. I'm really trying to just like relax them.
Yes.
Even if there is like even if there's motility issues and you want to stimulate motility, you're still not trying to like um, activate, if that makes sense.
Mhm. 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 Okay, okay. So you don't want that electrical component affecting things.
Personally, me
Overstimulating.
personally,
Okay,
yeah.
got
Some
it.
other practitioners will feel differently and
Yeah.
will say, oh, it's great for this or great for that. And
Mhm.
that's also, again, comes down to the beauty of Chinese medicine is that there's so many different systems and
Mhm.
there's so much different knowledge coming from so many different countries, really, that each lineage, like there's a difference between Chinese acupuncture and Japanese acupuncture, for instance. And
Mm.
Chinese style will stimulate a point a lot. And so there'll
Mhm.
be more sensation. Whereas
Mhm.
Japanese style, they use thinner needles and it's a very, very gentle needle technique. And who's to say one is right or wrong?
Right.
They both get really good results. And I think at that point, it really depends on the patient's sensitivity and comfortability.
Mhm. So, Ariel, so, you know, we think about acupuncture and we think about Eastern medicine, right? But in your studies of traditional Chinese medicine, are there examples of acupuncture in other parts of the world? Like where it was initiated sort of in ancient times in their cultures?
My understanding is that it started in China. I don't know. I mean, it's spread from China and then
Outwards. Mhm.
yeah, so there's Korean acupuncture, there's Japanese acupuncture, there's Chinese, there's classical Chinese and traditional Chinese. Traditional Chinese is going to be after like the era of Mao. It's a bit
Mhm.
different than the classical. The classical kind is a bit more spiritual.
Okay.
There's the five element style that came out of the UK, and that one is all based on mental emotional issues. And then those are the main styles that I'm aware of, but I know that like there was the migration of Chinese
Chinese to other parts of the
through
right.
through the Silk Road trade route,
Yes.
and then it
Yes.
sort of like moved all the way through Europe. And there's a lot of different cultures who have kind of made their
Adopted it from that.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. So we talked about the gut because that's our area of focus. And I think that's your first love as well, helping people with digestive issues.
Yeah.
But what other conditions have you seen great results when acupuncture is being added as an adjunct or even as a primary therapy?
Women's health, like
Okay.
hands down, there really isn't a whole lot of Western interventions for women's health issues,
Yeah.
and birth control tends to be the main thing that people will recommend.
Yeah.
And Chinese medicine is just incredible at regulating the women's the whole cycle, the menstrual cycle, whether or not it's um, irregular or absent or too frequent,
Mhm.
fertility issues,
Mhm.
things like that, supporting pregnancy, supporting women through the pregnancy with morning sickness or
Mm.
the back pain that they get or the
Right.
acid reflux that they get, like
Reflux,
all.
acupuncture is definitely,
Uh-huh.
you know what? I'm thinking of a friend who's expecting twins. I'm going to tell her.
Yes.
She's already
Yes.
having a lot of symptoms at like 19 weeks. And
Mhm.
can you continue acupuncture throughout the pregnancy? Is
A
there a
hundred percent.
throughout?
100%.
Wonderful.
Yes. No, and in
Totally
fact,
safe.
totally safe, and in fact, if the baby is in the wrong direction towards the end of the pregnancy,
Yes.
then yep, there's a technique where we can turn the fetus. There's, labor induction, which can help, the downward process of the baby. And of course, that's only done in a very small window at the very, very end, and usually once it's cleared medically.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing at treating those disorders that there's just no answers to, especially things like PCOS and
Mhm.
endometriosis, and
Mhm.
endometriosis is
Maybe autoimmune conditions as well, right? I'm sure
absolutely
you healed a
yeah.
lot of patients post-COVID with a lot of yeah.
I see a lot of autoimmune conditions. It's also an interest of mine and also one of the other doctors at our clinic. And so yeah, we see a lot of autoimmune conditions, and I am shocked at the amount of endometriosis we see, because the majority of the women who come in with like extreme menstrual pain actually have endometriosis and are undiagnosed. And so
Right.
um,
Yeah.
it's really good at helping pain, really any kind of pain, people with back pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, headaches. Chronic migraines is another thing that
Migraines, yes.
I have incredible success treating is chronic migraines.
Fantastic. Well, this has been an eye-opening discussion. I do refer quite a lot of patients for acupuncture, but I don't really know what goes on. I'm just like, go, you're going to feel better. Just go. She knows what she's doing. Just go. So it's actually been an eye-opening conversation to really learn about the process, the frequency of visits, how you guys maintain your patients, and then the long term. It's been great to hear about the different kind of conditions that acupuncture can help with. To hear that there's immediate healing after a few sessions, right? After a few sessions, that it's safe in pregnancy throughout the entire pregnancy, which is super beneficial. And long term, I think the value is there. So whether it's insurance covered or not, I think this is a modality, this is a healing modality you cannot ignore. You have to take advantage of. use it. And it's almost like your acupuncturist can never do wrong because just make sure you connect. Make sure you find someone you enjoying being with who makes you feel
Mhm,
safe. And that's
mhm.
the most important thing. But I am definitely going to be recommending it, acupuncture therapy, even more so to my patients with gut issues. And perhaps instead of starting at the end, because I usually will put them through the whole 5 hour protocol and be like, okay, let's focus on rebalance, let's focus on stress. It's something that I should bring in much earlier as they start working with me before then working on the microbiome and the let's repair the gut and everything. So this has been an amazing conversation. I've learned a ton. Thank you so much. Tell us one more time where we can find you online. And for those who are willing to make the trip to San Diego,
Yes. So my clinic name is Arise Acupuncture. You can find us on Instagram, Arise Acupuncture. We also have a Facebook page and a website. I do free discovery calls if anyone is interested in our service and they'd like to connect with me firsthand to get to know if the service is right for them. I'm more than happy to extend that.
all right, that's awesome. Thank you so much. We'll definitely post your information in the comments right after the conversation. Thank you so much,
Perfect.
Dr. Caruso.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Take care.